Yo, what up? This your boy Kenneth Stones, A.K Coffee Weaston.
This your boy D.O.E. Good Brother Bowl.
And we are the Dirty Hills. You already know, man. You tuning in to 11:30 podcast. Mm-hmm. Not 7:30, but 11:30.
Dude, that's my job. Not 7:30, but 11:30.
Yeah. And you have been Dirty Hills approved.
Yo, what it do, everybody? It's your man Drake, a.k.a. Drake on the wheels. Welcome back, everyone, to the 11:30 podcast, Talk Pro Wrestling. What's good, everybody doing out there? Appreciate you guys joining me back here for another dope episode, man, of Talk Pro Wrestling. Good morning, good night, good afternoon to all my listeners all across the world, wherever you may be at. Appreciate you guys joining me back here, man, whether you listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whether that's on YouTube, man. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the 11:30 podcast, like it, leave a comment, and do all that great stuff. And follow the 11:30 podcast on all social media platforms. But you guys, man, yo, it's time for Talk Pro Wrestling. I got an amazing guest, you guys, lined up this week, man. For real, independent pro wrestler. He's the Arsenal, A.K Willis, you guys. He wrestles for EWA Pro Wrestling, SWO, SWA, just to name a few. Joining me, man, right now to chat with me, man, here on the 11:30 podcast. It's going to be real fun. We ain't gonna waste no more time. We're going to get into the show. A.K Willis, man, what's going on with you?
Oh, not much, man. I appreciate you having me. Just vibing, man. Just vibing right now. I'm enjoying life.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man. I appreciate you taking the invite, man. Like I was saying before the show, man, I reach out to a lot of, independent guys, man. Have them on the podcast to chat with them.
I appreciate it.
Because, I love what you're doing, especially, black independent wrestlers right now.
Yes.
Especially what's going on in the wrestling world in general, though. But how's life treating you,
though? Pretty good, man. Pretty good. I just had a new, I didn't. Me and my wife just welcomed a new baby girl into the world. Yeah, 3 weeks ago. So, she's still fresh. Nah, man, just loving life, trying to stay on my grind as far as wrestling goes. That's it's weekly and daily work, behind that. And, being an independent wrestler is a little different. We ain't signed a contract, so we got day jobs, and so it's a beast in and of its own self. So having a family, full-time job, and trying to maintain the whole wrestling thing is it's a challenge, but it's a welcome one. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Hey, yeah, man. That's what's up. I know you wouldn't have it any other way. Once again, congratulations on the newborn, man. That's going to be real dope, man. You're a father now, man. And
I've been a father. I've been a father.
You've been a father. Just got a new baby now.
This is number 3 for us. So
okay.
Yeah. Okay. I ain't new to the game, but I appreciate it either way.
Hey, that's what's up, man. You from Baltimore?
No, I'm actually from the Eastern Shore, Maryland. It's a small town in on the Eastern Shore called Cambridge, Maryland. And Cambridge is a small town. You'll ride right through it. It's right on Route 50. It's about 30 minutes, about an hour from the beach. And that's where I was born and raised. I guess a little bit of a side tangent. A lot of people don't recognize Cambridge for anything, but it was a real important area. Dorchester County and the town of Cambridge was very important in the civil rights area, in the civil rights era, and that time period, like in the 50s and 60s and things like that. Black culture in this area, there's a lot of roots that run back through that town and through that area. Harriet Tubman actually lived in Dorchester County at one point in time. So yeah, that's my hometown. It's a little boring outside of that, but it's got a lot of history and stuff like that. Okay. But it's crazy because I guess anybody from anywhere that has any type of like notoriety, if you tell them where you're from, right? And it's like, hey, where you from? It's like, I'm from Maryland. And they be like, oh, you mean from Baltimore? And I'm like, nah, I'm not from Baltimore. And it's like, oh, so where you from, Annapolis? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And then they're like, where you from then? And I tell them where I'm from. They're like, oh, I never heard of that. And I was like, of course you didn't. It's okay though. It's all right.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool. I'm from DC, man, and I was of course doing my homework, and I saw Baltimore on your page, and I was like, oh man, my man ain't too far though. But
that's where I built AK from Baltimore because it's recognizable, and I spent
Okay.
a lot of time in the city of Baltimore. And actually, I love the city of Baltimore. My wife is from there, and so I've been with her for a long time, and so we spent a lot of time. I spent a whole lot of time in the city of Baltimore, and I come to love it. With the amount of time I spent there. So, yeah, very familiar with the city, and like I said, it's you come out and where are you going to be from, AK? Well, I'm from Maryland, so Baltimore, and it's like, yeah, sure. People know where that's at. You
Hey,
know what I
hey,
mean? So,
yeah, I kind of like adopted also Baltimore as like my second home, man. I always go to
mhm.
Baltimore a lot to go to a lot of wrestling events and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
Baltimore is a really really sweet spot, man.
it's
And
a great
I
city.
also yes, really really great city. And my guys who also is independent pro wrestlers, my guys Pure Ignorance, who
Yes,
wrestling from right out of Baltimore, Maryland. Had them on the
yeah.
podcast, a year ago. Need to get them back on, but schedule conflicts.
Uh,
They're doing amazing things though. But yeah,
yeah.
there's some awesome talent, man, from Baltimore.
I've gotten to know them over the last year or so. Well, I met Prince first. I met Prince, I think, man, maybe a couple years ago. Because he was up at a EWA show, and I met him there, and he was just looking for a spot, trying to get on. So I think he was in like a battle royal type deal, and I was like in a cage match or something like that. I don't know, but I met him there, and he's a real cool dude. And I just met Chaz, I think earlier this year. But man, both of them dudes, man, they're real good guys, talented guys too.
Yeah.
And um, we got a running joke on social media that we're trying to, because I'm in a tag team as well. Well, I'm in a couple tag teams, but I'm in a tag team as well. Like me and my partner Jason, we're in a tag team called Art of War. So it's like a running joke with us in Pure Ignorance that we want somebody to book us because we haven't worked each other yet, and we're trying to. So it's
Okay.
like, and so I think Chaz put up on Facebook, I think last week, he was like, I don't want to wrestle nobody else in 2022 until I wrestle AK and his partner. But I mean, it's a running joke, but it's serious, man, because I feel like we had good chemistry in the ring and stuff like that. And I like how those guys move and stuff like that. So
Hey man, that'll be dope. I would
yeah,
love for you guys, man, to get in the ring and chop it up, man.
yeah,
Chaz and Prince and Machiavelli are some real dope dudes, man. I really like what they're doing, man.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yes. A.K Willis, man, you here on the 1130 podcast, Talk Pro Wrestling for some viewers and listeners who's joined this week, who's not familiar. Would you tell them something about you, about A.K Willis?
Well, man, where do I start? I've been in the business since I started training in 2016, early 2016, like January 2016. Started training down in Delaware. There's not a lot of places to train in this area around here where I'm at. The Mid Atlantic area is full of places to train, but in my specific area on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, it's not a lot of places to train. And I ended up finding this small place called Spinebusters Wrestling Academy. It's now defunct, but it was my trainer, a guy named Sonny Deeds, local guy down here in Delaware, ended up training me initially. Trained for about 6, 7 months. Then I tore my ACL.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I tore my ACL, and
How
it was
long was that
crazy.
recovery?
Man, it was about a year. It was about a year. Then I started training. It was me and I think I was training with other people, but I think the two consistent people, I guess, as I was training, is me and Killian McMurphy. He's a real good friend of mine. A real good friend of mine. PWI 250 something this year. I don't know, but he's killing it right now too. But we got started right around the same time. I got injured around that summer, and he debuted and basically took off. You know what I mean? And he's doing his thing, and so that recovery was about a year. It was hard because that's one of those injuries where it's you can't do anything with it. You can't be athletic with it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
you
take
got to
some
get the
time.
yeah you got to get the surgery. You got to take some time, and the recovery process. You end up telling yourself. I mean, at least I did. I don't know about anybody else because you figure I started training when I was 28. I'm 33 now. So,
Okay.
I didn't get like a super early start like most people. And
Mhm.
so over the course of that rehab, you started telling yourself, man, maybe you're not gonna come back, maybe you're not gonna blah 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 blah. My man Killian, he kept reaching out to me. He was like, hey, you are coming back, you can do this, you're good at it, that kind of stuff. So I mean I made it back. And so let me see, 2016 and the 2017, trained some more. Came back under another local guy around here in Delaware. His name is. Now I keep saying Delaware. I live in Maryland, but Delaware
Okay.
is literally like the line. The Delaware line is like
Yeah.
minutes from where I'm at, so it's like kind of interchangeable.
Yeah.
But a guy named Mark Harrow, he's who I finished my training under, and who I still train under now on a weekly basis and stuff like that. And so, I mean, after that, I came back and I think I made my first official debut in, I want to say 27, no, 2018. Yeah, made my first official debut in 2018, and so it's been going from there, man. Um, me, man, I mean, so that's a little bit about me. I could go on for ages because I like talking about wrestling, but
Hey, that's what's up. That's what's up. What got you into wrestling though?
okay, so I found myself. Okay, so I realized that I wanted to be a wrestler. So and back in the day, like teenage years, me and my best friend, we would go out back and we would wrestle on the trampoline and stuff. I mean, we had the whole deal, man. We would like film it, and we had like storylines and all this type of stuff, right? So we did like
dope.
we did like the whole like backyard wrestling deal. But it was on the trampoline or whatever. So I mean, that's just like we're having fun. I mean, we were into it. It was fun, but we had fun. Okay, so a little bit into adulthood and stuff like that, and I don't know, I kind of got an itch to like maybe want to wrestle. So there are a few people around here locally that did some wrestling, and but it was like backyard wrestling kind of, and I don't know what the general conception is behind backyard wrestling is, but I mean, I think depending on what you're doing with it and like your intent and stuff like that, some people see it as just having fun and things of that nature. But if you're a professional and you're properly trained and it's kind of something you don't really want anything to do with, you don't want nothing to do with it. There's not a lot of respect there. I mean, I get it. A lot of those guys, they might have great intentions and they might be real fans of, but it's a different line you cross once you step into actually starting to train to become a professional wrestler. You know what I mean? So I did that for a while, and what was happening was I found myself wanting to do things and wanting to express myself in a way that I couldn't. So, you're in this backyard setting. Nobody really knows how to wrestle, These guys are just copying what they see on television, that kind of thing. Even it might be in a real wrestling ring, it might be in a setting. People might be watching you, but at the end of the day, you're not really wrestling. You don't know how. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I found
having fun. Yeah.
Exactly, out there having fun. But I felt myself wanting to. So like it would be before a match or something, and I'm like, man, maybe I think I want to do this, and that, and then you come to find out that you can't do that because nobody knows how. And then you look at yourself because it's like you don't even know how to do it. So I'm like, all right, man, how do I scratch this itch? So I reached out to one of my partners, a guy I actually went to high school with. He's actually a wrestler in the area, and I said, hey, look, man, I'm trying to wrestle. Like I want to train like to be a wrestler or whatever. And he was like, you finally done with that backyard shit. And I was like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, fair enough. And so, I got hooked up with him and I went to a show down in Delaware. There's a promotion down there called 302 Pro Wrestling, which is the area code for Delaware, which is 302 Pro Wrestling. And it was actually attached to the school that I started training in. So the school and the promotion were kind of like one thing. And so I went back there. I met up with the guy who was running the show, and then I basically started training there. And like I said, once you get into it and you take your first bump and you run them ropes the first time or you do your first set of drills, like you gain a certain respect, for wrestling and the craft of professional wrestling and what it takes to actually be a wrestler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And anything you did before almost feels like a waste of time, And I told myself, I was like, man, I should have been here. Like, this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted to do. And you go for it because you think you might like it. And then you realize that it's something that you're good at, like I'm doing these things. I'm going training after training after training. And it's hard. Don't get me wrong. It's hard, but it's like, I'm getting it. I'm getting it, and it's coming to me, and I'm doing this stuff, and it was just yeah, that's how I got into it. I was doing the backyard thing, man, and it wasn't enough. And I told myself, man, it's not safe. I would never forgive myself if I injured myself in somebody's backyard, you know,
Hmm.
in front of
Yeah.
nobody, in front of what, two people for no reason. You feel me? So it's like, what's the point? So,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah, looking back at it now, what would you tell your younger self right now jumping on a trampoline? That definitely wanted to be a pro wrestler because that's how everybody's journey starts
Yeah.
out. On the
Yes, yes.
trampoline, wanted to do a suplex or a drop kick or
Yeah,
anything.
man. Yeah, man. I tell myself to go for it at like 18 or 19, and I'll wait till
Okay.
you're 28. But I mean, that's life, though. Life
Yeah.
is life. You live life. You
Hmm.
get married, you have kids, you get a real job, and certain things
Hmm.
have to wait, or you get the certain points in certain parts of the road, come at certain times. But I would tell myself, I was like, hey, look into that a lot earlier. Because I can only
Hmm.
imagine where I'd be now if I started at 18 and not 28. But that's life.
Yeah.
It is what
Yeah.
it
You're
is.
right. You're right. You're right. Any specific wrestlers maybe drew you in, or that drew you in to pro wrestling maybe growing up, or were you a WWF guy, WCW guy?
I was both. I was a channel flipper.
Okay.
I, I,
Channel
I,
flipper.
I flipped the channels, bro. And so it was actually when WCW added that third hour for
Hmm.
Nitro, it made it a lot easier for me because that was an hour I didn't have to. That was an hour I didn't have to flip channels.
Yeah.
That was dope for me. I was excited, but I was a channel flipper, man. I was both, man. Like obviously, I was into WWF first, um, and I can remember, man, all the way back to early '90s. As long as I can remember anything, I remember watching wrestling. So we talking like the Federation days and stuff like that, where I was into WWF and just like right on up to the Attitude Era and into WCW. I got into WCW around '96.
Hmm.
And as a kid, just watching it on television, and for me, it was just wrestling. So, like, if there was wrestling on television, then I was watching it. Like,
Yeah.
period, whatever it was, I ain't care. And so, obviously, we talking around, my teenage years and my adolescence. We're talking, WWF, WCW. That's what's on television, so that's what I'm watching. So naturally, that's what I became a fan of. As far as wrestlers, man, I was all about the black wrestler show. I was all
Hey.
about the black. I was all about the black wrestlers, man. I was one of those growing up. Now I liked everybody else, but I was one of
Hmm.
those. I'm rooting for everybody black. I was.
Hey, that is what's up, man. That's what's up. The Attitude Era was definitely my part that really drew me into wrestling,
Yes.
man. Like that was it for me though.
Mhm.
We're gonna move on here on Talk Pro Wrestling because you just mentioned something that was like my next topic that I was gonna bring up. It's a lot of black wrestlers right now that's stepping into their purpose as like yourself right now that is doing amazing things. How do
Sure.
you feel about how the black wrestling community is thriving right now? Because we seeing a whole lot of more black wrestlers on top, a whole lot of more black
Mhm.
wrestlers that's champion that would have never been champion at a certain era or a certain time.
I love it, and I love it because not just because it's kind of like you said, we're stepping to our own, um, but I love it because like it, our culture is okay now. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And I don't know if that makes sense, but like it, it's always been okay to be a black wrestler, but it wasn't always okay for our culture wasn't always okay in in wrestling.
Hmm. Do you
You know
feel?
what I'm saying?
Yeah. Do you feel like what took place over the last 2 years made it okay for the black culture to be sort of accepted in maybe
Absolutely.
wrestling or just in general?
Absolutely, and I just think it comes with the sign of times in general. With the change in the times in general, with everything, the way the world is changing, everything is becoming more acceptable. Everything, and along with that is black culture, our culture. I mean, you can even go as you could. Pick the easy route and go, okay, we had a black president, but I mean, just like in general, just it's okay to be black and be yourself about being black right now. And
Hmm.
I feel like that's really become a part of pro wrestling right now. You don't have to be black and do what you don't have to be black, but at the same time do what's marketable for a black person to succeed. You can be black and be yourself and still succeed in pro wrestling right now. And that's what's dope. And I think about back in the day. I think about the Booker T's, you know what I'm saying, and the Ron Simmons and the people like that. Those guys got on television and they talked like black people. You know what I mean? They act, they walk, they carried themselves like black people, and and it was unapologetic. But those guys, they weren't common. You know what I mean? That's not common in that day. And obviously, when you break it down into like more territorial areas, you find a lot more black people. We're talking about mainstream. You know what I'm saying? But now it's just like you said, man. Our scene is blowing up, and our culture is everywhere, and I love it.
Yeah, you're right. And you talk about like Booker T, man. I remember back in 2003, and actually a little over the summer, where the A&E documentary aired. And it was brought back, a whole lot of animosity within the black community, and just brought up a part of of his career when he had to take on Triple H at WrestleMania 19 and didn't get that big victory. I was like, hold up, wait a minute, that was Booker T's moment.
That was his moment. It was his time, man.
Yeah, and there's always that stereotype with black wrestlers. They always have to either dance or have to rap or do certain gimmicks and stuff. So I love black wrestlers who just be themselves, man, and just rap and stuff like that. Have you faced any challenges as being a black wrestler?
Just the general tropes. When you get started, and especially being here in this area here, when you find yourself in more like rural areas, trying to start out as a pro wrestler, excuse me, and being black, it's easy to be drawn into or kind of sucked into different types of roles, or either passed over. And a lot of these smaller towns and around, like in areas like this, not just this area, because there's probably like small town rural areas like this all over the country. You know what I'm saying? But from my experience, and also for what I understand from other people that live in areas like I do, is that they're not as diverse as you would want them to be. And on top of that, for example, my very first wrestling, not my very first gig, but I think one of my first bookings was as a bodyguard, and that's a trope. You feel me? Like it's a trope, 100%. And at the time, for me, I'm like, okay, it's a booking, and not only is it a booking, it's something that I get to come back to like continually. So it'll go into multiple bookings, and and the promoter told me, and I love this guy to death, by the way. So it's nothing against him. It's just the nature of it. You know what I mean? The nature of it. And I've seen it happen with, I can name off the top of my head 2 people, if I close my eyes right now, that are filling those same exact roles right now as I speak. And they're young, they're black, and they're just breaking into the business. And that's what they're having them do. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a challenge, but it's easy to be typecasted as like a young black wrestler, especially in an area like this. And I kind of envy the guys coming up in like DC and New York and the more like Chicago and like bigger, like more accessible wrestling areas, because those guys have a more like there's a better opportunity for those guys, in my opinion, to kind of like come in and just be their own person and spring into their own. Whereas in areas like here, you just kind of got to get in where you fit in, and then just kind of get the wheels turning yourself and start to turn into who you are. But yeah, I was a bodyguard, like my first, I think, real booking. And obviously, big black bodyguard, you think of Mr. Hughes. And that's, you feel me? Like, and all over this country right now in small towns, there's a whole bunch of first year greenhorns who got suit jackets on and sunglasses because they're playing Mr. Hughes for somebody. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's a trope. You know what I'm saying? And it's something that I can't even say it's a necessary evil, because it's not. I mean, it's something I'd like to see go away, and just, let us be us. You feel me? Like,
exactly. How did you obviously, you wanted, a gig and to break into the wrestling business though, but how did you feel about being approached to, being a bodyguard first,
It wasn't okay. So like, when they first told me about it, I was just excited to be like coming out of somebody's curtain in front of somebody's crowd.
Mhm.
I was still like kind of finding my way, still learning the business. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was just the opportunity to, continue to develop as a performer. You know what I'm saying? I knew it wasn't going to be something that I was going to do. I knew it wasn't something that, like my gimmick was going to be based on or anything like that. Because at the time, I didn't necessarily have a gimmick. Um, I barely had a persona, you know what I mean? I was just getting started. I didn't even have real gear, you know what I'm saying? I was just wrestling like a plain black singlet at the time. And so like it was a learning experience, you know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things that I look back on now. I look back on now and I'm like, not oh, you shouldn't have done that, but it was just like, oh, that was so typical, you know?
Yeah.
Uh that kind of thing. So it's just it's lessons you learn, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And especially when you see it happening to other people who are where you were, a few years ago. Um, but I mean, hey, I didn't feel some type of way. I don't want to make it seem like, oh, I was so angry on the inside that I had to play Mr. Hughes or anything like that. But I mean, it is something that you can look back on and be like, yeah, I'd like to see less of that. You know,
Okay.
I'd
Okay.
like to see less of it.
Have you ever lost your cool or blew up in the ring?
Um, No, not visibly. I've had times where I've been in the ring and I've gotten really, really, really mad and really upset. But
Like, how did you keep all of that in without the fans noticing
uh, I know this is gonna sound cliche, but
that?
you just gotta be professional about it, dog. Like honestly, that's the best. You got to be professional, and I know it's not interesting to say that, but
Mhm.
the second I'm gonna tell you one thing right now, man. Like the second you can have you can have 10, 20 moments in the ring where you could have got mad, but you decided not to. Nobody will ever know about. But you take that 1 second and blow up and lose your cool in the ring and make a scene out of whatever, and that's all anybody will remember. You know what I'm saying? So like it's super important to just keep you cool. I've had matches where, I've been wrestling a guy and he just wouldn't listen, so it
Mhm.
just feels like you're, kind of because communication's key when you're talking about actually performing inside of a wrestling ring. Obviously, you're simulating combat, obviously, but it's just you're working together, you're putting on a show. You feel me? And so you got to talk to each other, you got to communicate. And I've been in the ring with a couple of people where it's just you talk, 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 and it's just like a brick wall. Nothing's computing, nothing's being heard, nothing's being relayed back to you, and that can make for probably one of the more besides actually physically getting hurt by somebody, that's probably one of the most frustrating things you can encounter in a wrestling match, in a wrestling ring, is just when the other person is just a wall,
Yeah.
and those are the moments where I almost lose my cool. But it goes a long way to kind of keep your composure because whether they admit it or not, promoters know who those guys are that aren't any good, and they see you go out there and make them look good, and it's a ringing endorsement for you, um, to just remain professional and kind of get through those rough moments.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. You gotta, keep it cool. I always kind of like, be wondering if the guy kind of like lost his cool at certain moments, especially when if you maybe you hit the suplex too hard or something like that. It was like, okay, maybe
Yeah. I've
he
had those
lost
moments.
it.
I've had those moments where I got hit or I got thrown in ways that I didn't really appreciate. But you keep it cool. You say that for backstage. Look, you got all night to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got 10, 15 minutes to get to
Mhm.
the end of the bell and get to the end of the segment and
Oh,
get your point across. So you take your 15 minutes to get where you need to go. You finish that. You finish what you got to do. That's your job. That's what you're there to
mhm.
do. The promoter hired you to do a job. You finish that job and then you go backstage. You take care of whatever you got to take care of.
Mhm. Or most people will call it, receipts. Though, have you ever, been
Yes.
given a receipt,
So there's a
also
rule.
taken?
There's a rule. I don't know how many people go by this rule, but it's you give a chop, you take a chop. Don't give out a chop if you don't want to take one. A lot of people, they like to, line up people in the corner and get those chops off because they like the big reaction from the crowd, like the woo,
Yeah.
and it's good, especially if it's a dead crowd. It's a good way to wake them up. That big old whack, you know what I'm saying? But some people give them and they don't want to take them. So like that's my rule. You're gonna chop me, well, it's coming back somewhere. You're gonna get one. But as far as a receipt, I don't think I've had to do it in training. But that's just rolling around doing different stuff with people with different levels of experience. You know what I'm saying? And you might have to tell a guy, hey, listen. Like, hey, all right now, and then sometimes you got to let them feel it. It's like, all right, this is what that felt like, son. Don't do that again.
Had to give a receipt back. Like, hold up, wait a minute, slapped me too hard on that one though.
Now, I've been on the other shoe. I've had the shoe on the other foot though. I've hit people a little harder than I should have by accident, and I've gotten it back. So
okay,
it definitely goes two ways.
Hey, that's what's up. What's your thoughts on today's wrestling and wrestling fans? Because I see wrestling fans, especially with social media and just dirt she's been out there and people choosing sides or picking whether you're a good person, whether you like this wrestling or whether you watch this wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on wrestling as a whole now? In 2021.
Wrestling right now is great. It's great, and I always like to compare different mediums to each other. I think wrestling right now is like music. Right now, we're not in the days of CDs and tapes and records. And with music right now, you got Spotify, YouTube, Pandora, all this. Music has never been more accessible than it is now. You can literally pick up anything that's close to you and access whatever song you want. Wrestling is like that right now. Wrestling is it's good because
I like that.
It's accessible. And there's so many flavors, man. So many flavors. Literally, whatever kind of wrestling you enjoy, you can find it. And you can find it in abundance. Even if it's not on TV every week, man. If you got an internet connection, man, you can enjoy whatever type of wrestling that you like, and you can enjoy it without having to indulge in whatever you don't like. And that's what's beautiful about wrestling right now. I'm a fan's fan. You know what I mean? Like I like wrestling. I'm not a WWE fan. I'm not an AEW fan. I'm not an ROH fan. And like me, I came up. My teenage years was through the original indie boom. So we're talking like early 2000s. So we're talking like CZW, ROH, Noah. When you're going from tapes to DVDs, and those promotions were really starting to blow up. You know what I'm saying? Like that's when I started to like really, really cling to. I've always been a fan, but that's when I started to like develop as a fan, like an independent wrestling fan. So it's like ever since then, I've learned to just take in all kinds of wrestling, and there's different things that you're gonna like and stuff like that, but it's just there's so much wrestling out here right now, so much. And on TV on a weekly basis, on the internet on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, there's always content for whatever you like. So it's so easy to just watch and enjoy what you like. It's so easy to watch and enjoy what you like, and just kind of be into that and enjoy that. And I heard you mention like the fans and everything like that. And that's one of my least favorite parts about wrestling right now is the fans. And it's unfortunate because, and you kind of, especially as a wrestler, you kind of got to learn to block off certain, I guess, avenues of social media, because at some juncture you just get tired of seeing fans just like this. You know what I'm saying? And
I don't mean to cut you. I was saying it last week that I just remember the times, the good old days where you could just turn on wrestling and just enjoy it without just having anyone tell you, oh, I didn't like that because of this, or this was bad, or this show was better than it. Like, just enjoy it. If that's what you like, just watch it.
And you got wrestlers in the fans and comment sections talking about who won weekly in like key demographics and stuff like that. And I'm like, who cares about that stuff, bro? I don't care about that. Like I watch NXT UK every week. Like that's one of my favorite things to watch every week. You think I care what they're doing in key demos, bro? I don't care. Like it's wrestling and I like it, so I watch it. And I just wish we could do that, as fans more. Just kind of learn to appreciate that this guy's not gonna like what you like. And he's not wrong for it. And you're not gonna like what this guy likes, and you're not wrong for that either. You might express your opinion in a way that might be a little toxic, which that's a discussion in and of itself. But just watch wrestling and enjoy it, man. I just wish we could do that a lot more.
Yes, a lot more, man. I definitely agree with you. But you guys, man, we're gonna move on here on the 1130 podcast. AK, what's your ultimate goal in wrestling?
My ultimate goal in wrestling, I want to be on somebody's TV somewhere. Okay. I'm gonna keep pushing and keep grinding. Obviously, like I said, man, independent wrestling, and this isn't as an excuse, but we got full-time jobs. A lot of us, we have full-time jobs, we have lives. But the grind doesn't stop. The hustle never stops. I'm gonna keep training, keep getting better. And that's my goal, to be on somebody's TV somewhere. Be on somebody's TV somewhere doing something. And for me, it's one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time. You have goals, obviously. There's nothing wrong with having a goal. But it's not. I can't go. I can't go to New Japan and jump into their young boy, their young lion system. I can't do that right now. That's not my lot in life right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me, it's just just keep grinding, and you look for that break. And even if it's not a big break, you look for a small break, and that leads to a bigger break. And somebody's gonna see you one day, and you're gonna end up on somebody's television. And that's what I keep telling myself. So that's the goal, and then we go from there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. As long as you keep the hard work in, man, and the dedication and the perseverance, man, it's all gonna pay off, man. It's definitely all gonna pay off. I believe in you, man. Keep doing your thing. What inspires
you? What inspires me?
Yes, sir.
I try to. I know this is gonna sound corny, but I just more wrestling. Honestly,
Okay.
I'm a real. I hate saying student of the game because I don't want to say I'm a student of the game, but I'm kind of a nerd for wrestling. Whenever I'm feeling down or discouraged about what I'm doing in wrestling, if I feel like I'm spinning my wheels a little bit, you know what I'm saying? I'll take some days and just watch things that made me feel good about wrestling before I started wrestling. You know what I mean? Like what got me into this? What inspired me initially to do this? And just that kind of thing. It always ends up doing it for me, and that's what really inspires me. Is just wrestling, and not the business side of wrestling, but the art of it. And it's the expression, and there's something to be said for that side of wrestling. Everybody thinks they know about the business side of wrestling, and that's that's a whole other podcast, the business side of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're talking about you as a performer, and so my buddy Rob, he uses this expression about wrestling being creatively fulfilling. And that's where I guess a lot of my inspiration comes from. Is just, sometimes you're gonna have to show up and do what you have to do in certain places, and that's fine. But the best parts of wrestling are where you get to creatively express yourself, and it's just you're an artist, and that wrestling ring, that's your canvas, that's your easel. You know what I'm saying? And when you get to go out and before every match, you have in your mind what that painting's gonna look like. You have it in your mind. Some nights you can go out there and you paint it, and it ends up being the exact type of painting that you pictured it. And those are the best moments. That's the inspiring stuff. You know what I mean? When you get to go out there and you get to express your creative vision, your artistic vision in front of people, and they get it, and you feel fulfilled from it, and you feel like you learned from it, and you feel like you grown from, your performances and, this way that we are able to express ourselves in this craft of ours. So, really, I guess the artistic side of wrestling. And I mean, some people don't see it that way. Some people see it as, they look at it for more. I mean, it is, there's an athletic side to it. Obviously, you have to be, there's, there's nuts and bolts to wrestling. Obviously, you have to know what you're doing in there training wise and, mechanically speaking. But I mean, like, when it comes all together, when it all comes together and you're able to, like I said, just go in there and express yourself creatively, as a performer, man, there's nothing like that. And that's the kind of stuff that keeps me going.
Man, that's what's up. That's what's up. You gotta have that. That's something that inspires you, man. Whether it's wrestling, I'm a big wrestling fan. I'm always watching wrestling. Every day of the week, man. It's like therapy to me. So I really enjoy it.
I feel that.
I can definitely tell your passion, feel your passion for wrestling, man, and keep at it, man. To inspiring wrestlers, what would you tell them?
Get used to. Okay, so aspiring wrestlers, when you start out, just work hard, man. Just literally work hard. It's work hard. Don't be stupid. And yeah, because like training's hard initially. Like going from zero to actually learning how to be a trained professional wrestler is very hard. It's very hard. It's very difficult, especially if you're doing it the right way. Just from everything, from the drills you have to do to knowing how to fall down and get up and run the ropes and where to place your feet and worry about cardio and, how to pick a guy up, how to put him down, how to grab a guy, where to hit a guy, all that. Like, it's so many pieces to being a wrestler, and it's all hard. None of it's easy. It's all hard. So just work hard. Don't give up in that regard. Don't be stupid. There's a lot of things you can do as a young wrestler that are stupid. And I don't mean stupid as in getting yourself in trouble, but I mean stupid as in there's a lot of ways you can waste your time and just kind of there's a lot of pitfalls for young wrestlers out there. You know what I mean? Whether it be working with bad promoters or linking up with the wrong people. I don't even want to say to travel with, or just linking up with the wrong people who are also in the business, just who to attach yourself to, listening to the wrong types of vets, because that's a thing too. There's a lot of vets out there who don't really know as much about wrestling as they give themselves credit for, so that's a thing. But yeah, man, just work hard, don't be stupid, and get used to hearing no. Get used to hearing no, because you're going to hear that a lot starting now. There's a lot of no's because I mean, really, being a wrestler, a big part of it is asking people to hire you. You're trying to present yourself to different promoters and ask them, can you work for them? That's what most of this is on a weekly basis. That's what you're doing. That's how you get your bookings. And a lot of times, now it's not even going to be no. A lot of times they're just going to not acknowledge you at all. You get left on red and all that kind of stuff. So just get used to hearing no. You're going to hear 10,000 no's and maybe 4 yeses, but those 4 yeses will be great. So
yeah, gotta work hard at it, man. Hey, A.K Willis, man, I appreciate you joining me this week here on the 1130 podcast. It was definitely awesome having you on and chatting with you, my guy. Keep up all the good work. I love it, man. I'm watching, man. Before you go, no problem. Before you go, any shout outs, any questions for me, anything you'd like to say?
Shout out to everybody. Shout out to my partner Jason Andrews, Art of War. Shout out to the goons, all of them, Killian McMurphy, Robbie Racky, Miles Millennium, Eel O'Neill, Big Dust. Shout out to all them. Those are all my partners, all my fellas, and they elevate me to heights that I couldn't imagine. And I just mean that, like, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Those guys, they keep me going. You know what I mean? So shout out to them. I thank them every day. Man, I appreciate you for having me here. This is great, and I appreciate you. Everybody watching, I appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thank you, man, for joining me here on the podcast. Before you go, man, you a sports guy?
I'm an NFL fan, yeah.
NFL fan? Who your team?
Indianapolis Colts.
Okay.
I'm a Colts fan. And the Colts, we got Hard Knocks this year. So
Okay.
The Hard Knocks season, the reality show, the Hard Knocks joint.
Yeah.
They're following the Colts this year, and so that's been dope. Darius Leonard's a riot, but MMA is my favorite sport, actually.
Okay, MMA. Okay, cool. That's what's up, man. Hey, look at it. I'm enjoying some football. I'm a Ravens fan. They gotta get their stuff together, man. I don't know what happened with Lamar last week.
It's falling off a little bit, man.
I don't know what's going on, man.
Falling off a little bit.
Yeah, they gotta get it together. Hey, yo, AK, man, thank you so much, man, for joining me here on the podcast.
For sure.
No problem, man. Enjoy the rest of your day, man, and stay safe, stay blessed.
Right now. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yo, A.K Willis, man, I appreciate you joining me this week here on Talk Pro Wrestling. It was a dope vibe, man, having you on this Friday, chatting with you, my guy, on wrestling, getting into wrestling and everything. It was a dope conversation, man. Really enjoy having, a guest here, just people here, man, to vibe with here on the podcast, and love hearing their story, man. I was always reminded and told, starting out podcast, man, when you have a guest, man, just let them talk, man. And just, you got guests who just could go on for a long amount of time. I had that experience on the main show, but this was really awesome. And just hearing my man AK stories and everything. Yo, man, for real, shout out to Pure Ignorance once again, man, from Baltimore, my man Chaz the Don and Prince Machiavelli, man, for real. Thank you guys so much for the support and everything. But you guys, man, we're gonna move on here on Talk Pro Wrestling before we wrap it up, man. Before I do, A.K. Willis, me and him was just saying about wrestling, man. Just enjoy wrestling. What a time to be a wrestling fan. And he made a great comparison about how you look at wrestling. Like, wrestling is like music, man. It's just, I never looked at it that way, but man, music is so accessible nowadays, You could, I gotta hey Google, you could be like, hey Google, or hey Alexa, or whatever it could be, and just play music, and it plays. You ain't gotta wait the Tuesdays for the CDs to come out and etc. But it's so accessible, whether it's on YouTube or on an app or anything like that. But whatever you indulge in or like, whether it's NWA, ROH, Independent Pro Wrestling, Impact, AEW, whatever it is, enjoy it, man. For real, I'm enjoying it. I'm not gonna let nobody tell me, what should I watch, But hey, whatever suits your boat, rock with it, man. For real. Once again, shout out to my guys, Warren Marlowe and Blackheart from the Commission, man. I was on my guy Warren Marlowe podcast, buzzing with Marlowe, along with Blackheart, and we were just up there, man, chopping it up, having some fun, man. On wrestling and just podcasting. And we were just talking about, man, AEW and WWE and just everything. So go check out my guy Buzzing with Marlowe, the Commission Talks, along with my guy Blackheart. For real. And speaking of Wrestle Talk, you guys, man, how did you enjoy AEW Dynamite that took place Wednesday night, man? What a show that was, right? In my opinion, this is my opinion, it felt like the show just sort of crashed. I mean, the main event, MJF versus Dante Martin, was great. But after that 1 hour, it damn near might as well have been an Iron Man match with no pitfalls, right? But after that 1 hour, matchup, the show just fell flat. I mean, the show fell flat. We was talking about it on Commission Talks and Buzzing with Marlowe. Like, we was, I had to step away for a moment, but when I came back in, it was only a couple of matches that was only announced for the show. And the match started out first, and I'm like, they doing this WWE thing where the championship match got to go on first? Like, really? But nonetheless, though, Daniel Bryan versus Heyman Adam Page went to a draw. It was an awesome matchup, though. But, like, I see where AEW is going. Like, they don't want to do the DQ thing. They said, none of our matches going to end in DQs. We're going to go straight up, pinfall or whatever. But these draws now, like, come on, y'all can go a sudden death or whatever like that. Like, come on, like, if y'all go a whole hour, at least, the 5 more minutes is overtime. Like the matchup, the time limit was an hour. Y'all, it was a tie. Nobody got a pinfall in any of that, so y'all should have went extra. But other than that, man, AEW was cool. We got Rampage tonight, so That's gonna be that. That is gonna be that Monday Night Raw, man. Woo! Not so great, but it was enjoyable, man. It really was enjoyable. The only thing that I was a little disappointed in is the fact that Bobby Lashley was put in a babyface position throughout Monday Night Raw. Like, and you could tell that, they found a whole lot of, released a whole lot of superstars that they don't have a lot of, guys to, use a lot in on the card in the show. So they had Bobby, or maybe they just wanted to have this be Bobby Lashley's night going into WWE Day 1 in a couple of weeks. So, we had Bobby Lashley take on KO, which he tapped out real fast. And then you had Bobby take on Seth Rollins, and then Bobby take on Big E. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that's a heel position, where, the authority or management put the babyface in that position where he has to basically face three guys to get a title shot or whatever, or to be in this matchup at the pay-per-view. But nonetheless, man, like, I don't know. We're going to see where it goes and let it play out. And I'm definitely letting this Miz and Edge play out. So I'm interested with that. I know in the black community with my guy Corey Graves, what he said on Monday Night Raw had everybody going crazy, man. Like, ATL is the capital of hip hop, and everybody in New York was like, "F that, man." No, it's not, man. I mean, did Corey Graves say it right? Is it ATL? Because in my opinion, New York ain't really been popping since like the early 2000s, though. Like, Atlanta just been producing music after music after music after music. So it is the capital of hip hop in a way. Now, I mean, like, some people could say it's the capital of trap music, but hip hop, that's New York. But hey, that's that, you guys. I'm believing with that. We got SmackDown tonight. Paul Heyman, man, after last week, encouraging Brock Lesnar, basically, or juicing him up, as I can say, or as I just say, because that's what he was doing, though. Reigning and doing all this other stuff. Even though, like, the Brock Lesnar and Sami Zayn, was going on for a little bit too long, I was like, okay, they can end it here. But I like it, and that's what I was saying last week, you guys, man. Like, seeing, top guys who would come back, like a Brock Lesnar, John Cena, The Rock, Triple H, Undertaker. When them guys would come back, they would only face the guy that they were set to face. They wouldn't have any other interactions with a mid-carder, like a Shelton Benjamin, or like a mid-carder, So I really did with this, and I'm not saying Sammy is a mid-carder, but hey, I like it, and it's entertaining. But I can't wait to see what the Tribal Chief is going to say to Paul Heyman after, like I said, juicing Brock Lesnar up last week and basically saying he's going to be the next reigning, defending, undisputed WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion of the world. So we're going to see how that goes, man. And WWE Day 1 is coming up. So, man, it's going to be fun. Next week, you guys here on the podcast, it's going to be Commission Talks. Here, once again, yes, my guy Blackheart and Warren Marlowe is going to be here on the 1130 Podcast Talk Pro Wrestling, chopping it up, man, with your man Dre. Before I go, man, you guys, man, make sure you check out the main podcast on YouTube. The latest episode 107, at my Instagram got hacked, man, for real. Shout out to my guy A Millie, man, for the support and everything, for real. And yes, my IG did get hacked, man. It's crazy, for real. Like, it don't make no sense. I ain't even about to waste my energy on that. But as you can see down at the bottom of the screen, man, make sure you follow my new IG Instagram page, you guys, at the 1130 Podcast _. Yes, it's me, Dre Wills. And it's been fun. Before I go, you guys, man, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at the 1130 Podcast, like the 1130 Podcast on Facebook. And once again, follow me on Instagram at the 1130 Podcast _. And once again, tune in each and every Wednesday for the 1130 Podcast, airing on EB Radio and YouTube. And this week is the 2-year anniversary of the 1130 Podcast. So it turned 2 years old, man. My baby 2 years old, man. I'm excited, man, for real. Man, I hope you guys enjoy your weekend, man, because the weekend is upon us, man, for real. Enjoy your weekend. Stay blessed. Stay safe. Enjoy all the wrestling, man, because man, what a time to be a wrestling fan. Enjoy the independent wrestling. Enjoy whatever you're going to enjoy. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Give all the glory to God, man. Won't he do it? For real. Yo, it's your man Dre, a.k.a. Dre on Wheels. And I'm out.